Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. If you thought the trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada were in the rearview mirror, think again. President Trump's latest tariff blitz has reignited an economic street fight, and this time, it's our beloved auto industry sitting squarely in the blast zone. Canada's Counterpunch, a bold 25% tariff of its own, targeting American-built vehicles with precision. The result? A cross-border chess match with electric vehicles caught right in the middle. Whether you're wrenching under the hood or tracking trends from the showroom floor, here's why this tariff showdown is sending shockwaves through North America's EV landscape. Let's drop the clutch and dive into the top 5 reasons this trade spat could permanently reshape the road ahead. Reason number 5. Canada's calculated strike, the 25% counterpunch. Canada didn't just react, it retaliated with precision. When Trump imposed a sweeping 25% tariff on imported vehicles and non-USMCA compliant goods, Ottawa hit back with its own 25% tariff, carefully targeted at US-made vehicles. But unlike Washington's blunt force approach, Canada fine-tuned its response. Automakers were given a remissions option to apply for relief, and exemptions were made for key components. The message? Canada isn't out to wreck supply chains. It's playing smart and strategic. Still, the effects are rippling. American-built cars that use parts from outside North America, even those technically CUSMA compliant, are now snagging on regulatory red tape. That's bad news for brands like Ford and Stellantis. It's even worse for EV manufacturers, who often rely on Asian battery parts now facing extra scrutiny at Canadian borders. The impact is already being felt. EV prices in Canada could climb, while US automakers deal with growing uncertainty. Canada's countermeasure may be defensive, but it definitely packs a punch. But tariffs on finished vehicles are just the start. The trade trap deepens when even CUSMA itself becomes a battlefield. Reason number 4. The CUSMA Conundrum, Rulebook or red tape. CUSMA, the shiny new name for NAFTA, was supposed to streamline trade between Canada, the US, and Mexico. Under its rules, if a vehicle is built with at least 75% North American content, it qualifies for duty-free treatment. Enter Trump's tariffs, stage left. Citing national security through Section 232, the Trump administration is throwing that 75% threshold into the wind. Vehicles that meet CUSMA rules might still get hit with tariffs if the US deems they contain too many foreign parts. This creates a nasty paradox. Your EV could pass all the legal content checks, but still trigger a 25% penalty because of where a few battery cells came from. Automakers are now bogged down in verification processes, customs paperwork, and delays that border on absurd. What was meant to be a trade lifeline has become a bureaucratic obstacle course. And for EV manufacturers, already fighting to close the cost gap with gas-powered vehicles, these added tariffs could tip the scales the wrong way. And if that wasn't enough, let's talk about how this tariff turbulence is directly choking EV adoption across the continent. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point. Reason number 3. EV growth gets sideswiped. Electric vehicles were on track for explosive growth until trade tensions slammed the brakes. The EV industry thrives on a complex global supply chain. Batteries from Asia, chips from Europe, and raw materials from South America. But with new tariffs, that chain is grinding under pressure. In the US, a 25% tariff on foreign parts has made production more expensive for EV makers like Tesla and Rivian, especially those sourcing from China and South Korea. Meanwhile, in Canada, retaliatory tariffs have made importing US-built EVs pricier, unless they perfectly align with CUSMA's strict requirements. The ripple effects are hard to ignore. Customers are hesitant. Dealers are seeing slower traffic. EV launches are delayed, and manufacturers are tangled in red tape. It's a logistical nightmare that's driving up costs and pushing electric dreams further from reach. And the looming wildcard? China. If Beijing curbs exports of lithium or rare earth elements, the entire EV sector could stall worldwide. The EV transition isn't being halted by tech, but by trade. But behind the scenes, it's not just EVs that are feeling the crunch. It's the entire supply chain holding them together. Reason number 2, supply chains in the breakdown lane. The modern auto industry runs like a global machine, every part, supplier, and shipment precisely timed. But Trump's updated tariff playbook has thrown that rhythm out of sync. Now, automakers across the U.S. and Canada are scrambling to decode which parts face tariffs, which are exempt, and how to stay operational without bleeding cash. Take aluminum and steel, cornerstones of any vehicle build. Trump's 25% tariff under Section 232 hit Canadian exports hard, but U.S. carmakers aren't spared. Many rely on Canadian metals to keep their lines moving. Add to that the customs chaos. Proving CUSMA compliance means navigating mountains of documentation to track each part's origin and value. Border backups are growing, especially for EV critical parts like semiconductors and battery housings. The outcome? Rising production costs are landing squarely on consumers. Experts warn new car prices could climb by $2,000 to $3,000. For EVs, that affordability gap just widened. And if this strain continues, layoffs and plant relocations may not be far behind. And all of this? It feeds into a larger shift, a realignment of global trade alliances that could reshape the industry's future. Reason number 1, redrawing the global automotive map. This isn't just about economics, it's about alliances and influence. The long-standing Canada-US bond is showing visible cracks as Trump's tariff policies put serious strain on the relationship. In response, Canada's been eyeing stronger ties with Mexico, the EU, and even Asia in industries outside of traditional auto manufacturing. If Ottawa fast-tracks agreements under CETA with Europe or strikes fresh mineral sourcing deals with South America or China, the U.S. could find itself left behind in the next wave of EV growth. Already, whispers of Canadian provinces working with European EV brands or Asian battery producers are gaining traction. Domestically, things are heating up too. Canadian opposition leaders are using the tariff turmoil to question Prime Minister Carney's grip on trade strategy. Meanwhile, U.S. politicians across party lines are now questioning whether this tariff play is worth the blowback. In short, global automakers are waiting on the sidelines, watching the political gears turn, and hoping someone hits the brakes before the damage becomes irreversible. Tariffs may have started as an economic lever, but now they're steering the entire direction of trade, tech, and the EV future. Final verdict: EVs in the crosshairs of a trade revolution. What began as a trade spat has morphed into a turning point for the automotive world. Tariffs aren't just hitting prices, they're rewriting the rules of global collaboration, shifting investment flows, and reshaping the EV narrative. With politics playing pit crew to the supply chain, the future of electric mobility now depends on decisions far beyond the assembly line. Before we shift into park, we'd love to hear your take. Do you think Canada's targeted 25% tariff is a smart strategy, or a short-term fix that could backfire? Should automakers redesign supply chains to work around political policies or wait it out? Will the U.S. lose ground in EV innovation if Canada deepens ties with Europe and Asia? Is this the beginning of a global EV slowdown, or just a temporary detour? Have you noticed price hikes or delays in your local EV market? Share your experience. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe to Piston Pundit so you never miss a shift in the world of vehicles. We've got more updates, deep dives, and high-octane analysis coming your way. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.